What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Investing Bros live show. There's definitely something on in the background, but I think it's me. I think I didn't mute my YouTube channel. There we go. All right, well, good start to the show. Thank you for being here, everybody. We got a great show lined up for you guys. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff today. There were some data points put out this morning as far as job numbers that gave us a short rally to start the day. A couple of you guys might have even jumped on a good trade opportunity, but in the last hour and some change, Bitcoin has been falling. Just how far are we going to the downside? We're going to take a look at that a lot more, but the bigger topic, BlackRock just continues to stack the sats. And as the title and thumbnail suggest, I'm not telling you that I'm scared about Bitcoin price going to zero, but there is something very real that we've known this for a while, that if people keep selling into every single FUD article and story and news headline that they see, it will only funnel all of the Bitcoin into the hands of BlackRock, and that's not something we want to see. We'll discuss that and a whole lot more, but first, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're new to the channel, and we've got to roll our intro. How'd it go in T-Shroom? It's a rookie move on my end, playing YouTube. I don't know if anyone else heard it, but it was loud in my ears. And that's completely on me. I apologize to you and everyone else. How are you doing?
Tim, I'm doing better than I deserve, and my ears aren't. My ears deserve better, and the ears of the bros also deserve better. And I can only anticipate that we'll see improvement from you. Tim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, but I'm actually curious. Did the double come through? Did it come through?
Actually, I didn't hear anything from YouTube. It just sounded like your mic died. That's all it sounded like. So we're having fun. But how are you? How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Is my mic good now? Hopefully
it sounds
it's not
fantastic.
All right, that
sounds so good.
Dude, I'm good. I'll tell you this. It's Thursday, but
it is.
Do you ever have a Thursday that really feels like a Friday?
Yeah. Yes, that's today.
It is feeling like a Friday, but it's not. I still have more stuff to do tomorrow. I'm looking forward to the weekend to kind of relax. I'll tell you this. We're going to get into crypto here in a second. You know, whenever you go to a conference, it throws you off a little bit. Usually it takes like a week or so to catch back up from all the stuff you missed. Yeah. I feel like I'm still catching up on some stuff that I wanted to accomplish since the Nashville conference. And it's been, is it 2 weeks now?
3 weeks? Maybe, I think 3 weeks, yeah.
Hopefully this weekend I catch up on everything. Got a lot of stuff I got to do. Guys, let's talk about what's happening in the markets. Let's start off with the bubbles. A sea of red, blood in the streets over the last 24 hours. Most of that blood coming within the last hour and a half as Bitcoin has been falling. Just how far are we going down? We'll talk about that here in a minute, but take a look at some of our biggest losers. I talked with T-Shroom earlier today. We had a company meeting. Me, him, and the duck. No, just kidding. Me, him, and Crux of crypto. And we're going to do some more TA. We're going to start doing a lot more TA early, not just Bitcoin. We're going to take a look at some coins. Some ones that I'm going to want to take a look at today. Let's take a look at TIA. Up here, down 8% today. And another one I want to take a look at, I don't really care about sats as much, but I want to take a look at another big loser. And while there's a couple that are of interest, let's take a look at OP. We haven't talked about Optimism a lot here more recently. So we'll look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, maybe look at the Solana chart. At the end of the show, if we have time with Q&A, we can take a look at a lot more coins. But I want to check those out. T-Shroom, remind me of what those are. Let's start off, though, with the big poppy of it all, Bitcoin. Again, everything moves kind of in collaboration with what Bitcoin is doing. Bitcoin down on the weekly chart. This is the grand scale right now. We are in a bearish week, but not anything necessarily crazy. Remember, we got a lot of support down here. I'm going to talk about these two yellow lines, kind of giving away my answers of where I think Bitcoin can go, but stick with me. I'll explain more of why I think that is. Daily chart. Definitely here, a bearish last couple of days. And what we're going to kind of see as we come into a 4-hour chart, look for a couple things that are in play right now. I'll start off with the first level I think is very significant, here around 56,800. Now, hear me out as to why I think that level is significant. First of all, here on the 4-hour chart, you can see we've actually now been in a falling channel that's going to kind of correspond right with that yellow line. It's also the 4-hour smart trail. If I were to go over and take a look at our liquidations, you're also going to notice zooming in on the 12-hour chart, take a look right here how liquidity kind of comes all the way down to about $57,000. Then you start to see some dwindling after that mark. That's why I think when you find the confluence of all three, it could get very, very interesting. However, I want to make sure you guys are prepared for if that doesn't end up holding, we could drop down even lower. And the next mark I'm keeping my eye on is going to be $54,000. Why is that? Well, not only is it the middle of this take profit area, I think depending on what time frames we're going to go into, we'll see some coordination there. This is where the daily candle closed just a couple of days ago back here on the 6th. We have a major wick down to 49,000, but we're able to close the day here at 54. But I come out here to a longer time frame, to the 7-day, and while there's a bunch of liquidity sitting there just south of 57, guess where the next bunch is kind of coming in? And I got to zoom in here as well. We're looking at this range right in here around $54,000 as a major target that potentially we could see long liquidations bring us all the way down to that point. To be fair, it actually could go all the way down to about 52, give or take. But with other major calls kind of coming in here on the 4-hour and others saying that 54 is looking like a good level of support, that's kind of where I'm going with. Those are my next two stopping points for Bitcoin if we were to move to the downside. With that said, though, we are still in this falling wedge. We do have a lot of support coming in here around 56,800. So I would not be surprised if we do see at least a short-term bounce. Could we see price maybe jump back up towards 61 before we have to make that decision about rejecting once again, or is it time to break on through? I continue to be pretty overly macro bullish over the long term, but I will say, I told you a couple of days ago, there was some bearishness that I wasn't sure was quite over. Had a short long position this morning, ended up closing that one in profit. Not maybe as much profit I was hoping, but when I saw the negative signs, got out of that. Our VIP trading group, we discussed that over there this morning. Now, I'm looking for my next two entry points, probably at that level, 56.8. What I'm going to want to see, though, I do want to see some of these lower time frames maybe give me some more confidence. Right now, you can see we have some massive volume coming in on these lower levels, especially you would see that more if we went like to the 15-minute chart, for example, as we kind of have reached this bottom out territory, big volumes coming in. A lot of times that does communicate that potentially a reversal is coming. And you see these low time frames beginning to flash that we are dramatically oversold, at least on the short time frame. But I'm going to want to see some confidence from my hourly chart right here, where we had a nice sell order. If anyone was wondering why did Tim take profit this morning and not wait for a higher level, well, it's because our 1 hour flashed this sell from Lux Algo. That was my cue to say, let's get out. I didn't enter a short position because I wasn't sure how far we would fall. But I did want to get out of my long position, entered back over here around 58,200. So right now, let's see the 1 hour chart turn back positive. Again, we're looking at an order block. We're looking at some take profit levels coming in down here. We're just now, as I'm making this show, we're turning this order block into a bearish breaker block. That's a sign of strength for the bears to move down a little farther. That's my next target, if anyone is wondering. Let's take a look, though, at some other coins here. We warned you yesterday about Ethereum potentially making a big move to the downside based off a rising wedge pattern, and sure enough, that is happening. We're about to hit my first target of interest. That is right here on 25.19. Let's turn this back on. Why 25.19? Well, we definitely see a nice order block sitting in this area, and depending on what time frame, I'm going to have to explore here for a second. There we go. We have the beginning of our take profit on the 1 hour chart, but our more extreme version drops all the way to 24.50. That's our second level I'm keeping an eye on, and the grandest one of them all. I told you guys, if we were to see a fall in the price of Ethereum, potentially we could see a break all the way down here towards 23.86. This will be the breakout from that falling wedge prediction. You're also going to see in the area a nice little order block. Let's check out what our liquidations charts are saying for good old Ethereum over the next 7 days. Today, not really focusing on the macro. I'm telling you, if you watched the last couple of days, we've done a lot more analysis on the macro next couple of weeks or months. Still looking very, very bullish, but check out what we have here for some liquidity. We're taking out a nice group of liquidity here around 2570, but our next bunch is coming in at 2400, kind of corresponding right here to this lowest level on the chart right here. Could Ethereum hit that 2400? It's looking like a possibility. If that gets lost, there is still some interesting liquidations down towards 2,100 that traders could target. But let's start off by just kind of focusing on that $2,400 mark. That looks like something very much in the cards for Ethereum. if you're looking for your next long opportunity. Once again, look for that support and look for signs of strength on things like the hourly. Maybe you're a little more aggressive than me. You want to see like the 30-minute or there or so forth. You are seeing some overextended signs on these lower time frames, but not necessarily signs of strength. That's why I don't think that the bleeding is necessarily over just yet. If you want to do more of this trade talk with me, this is stuff I'm going to be doing a lot more with our VIP group. You can go join the membership today if you want to spend a lot more time talking trades. I wanted to start off with those. Take a look real quickly at Solana, see what it is looking like today, reaching some take profit levels that we look real quickly at Solana, see what it is looking like today, reaching some take. There we go. All right. That one I did hear. I think that one was coming through our little echo.
That was crazy. I apologize, bros.
We're both making the same mistakes today. Someone says, let's look at TIA. We're going to look at that here in a second. But first, let's take a look at Solana. Back down below 140. 140 had been such a champ here over the last couple of days, holding up, but we have lost it. We're reaching that first level on the hourly chart that suggests that we could be seeing some support. But once again, until I see the overwhelming bullishness on the hourly chart, I continue to take a look to the lower side. So we're kind of, again, scratching that first mark we made a couple of days ago around 137. Next mark, 134 is where I'm keeping an eye. Even if we were to go out to the 4-hour chart, for example, well, you actually see more support there. Yeah, we go. 4-hour chart, it's hidden. The take profit level, the early take profit level, 134 is in play. If things get really bad, we're still seeing 122 as a potential mark to the downside. Liquidations-wise, let's see what the next couple of days have for us. Again, if you guys are just joining and you're wondering why are we being so bearish, macro, we are still bullish. If you watched yesterday's live stream, we're not going in a different direction. The macro is still bullish, but the short time frame, while we wait in anticipation next week for hearing Jerome Powell and the Fed talk about what their next interest rate moves will be, there's a chance that we have some volatility, and some of that volatility sends us dramatically to the downside. Now, we're going to cover more of that here in a second, because the truth is the news coming out this morning should even suggest short-term we're bullish, but I'll address that here in a little bit. Let's take a look at what Solana is doing. I'll say this, T-Shroom, when you go look at the liquidations, 7-day, getting rid of the 140, we've now removed in the 7-day time frame every reason for why people would want to short. So that means we got to actually go out here towards the monthly chart and look at a little more price action. Is there anything big below us? The answer, really, no. So not necessarily seeing Solana get the liquidation levels demanding lower prices, which does give us a little bit stronger of a sense that we really should only drop, again, maybe here towards 137, maybe 134, but that puts a lot less of a possibility or probability of 122 coming back in the cards. What I'm overwhelmingly seeing here right now, guys, whether you're looking at Bitcoin, which again, here we go, Bitcoin scratching that 57,100 while we're doing TA, keep an eye on that support level. But whether you're looking at Bitcoin, whether you're looking at Ethereum, or you're looking at Solana or anything else, keep in mind that even with these lower targets we're talking about on the macro or the micro, we are still talking about levels that would give us higher lows over the last couple of days since the lows in August back on the 5th. So it's going to still be a nice long while before we get to overwhelmingly bearish in longer term structure. But for right now, these shorter time frames like the hourly, 30-minute, and so on and so forth, still showing signs of potential downward movement in the cards here for Solana. I told you guys we'd take a look at a couple coins here. Let's go back here. What were the ones I said? I said I wanted to take a look at TIA for sure and Optimism. Was there anything else I said? I think that was it. Let's start off with TIA. Have not talked about TIA, haven't done TA on TIA on the channel in quite a while. So for that reason, even though we focus on micro stuff for the other coins, let's take a look more at the macro perspective. And this isn't crazy macro, but it is the daily chart. We rejected here just a couple of days ago on the smart trail until this level is conquered. And it's looking like $6.13, this red cloud right here. That looks like the level that the bulls need to recapture to feel confident once again. Now, we're in the process at the moment, even within this lower time frame, let's go to the 4-hour chart, of seeing a nice little higher low position. But could we see a double bottom right back here around $5, give or take, where we see the smart trail? Let me turn off my order blocks for a second. We see the smart trail coming in at this level. We're also, when we turn on our order blocks, we see a bullish breaker block in play that should be some strong support. This could be a level to keep an eye on for a return, but let's see some strength, at least again on the 1-hour chart. And at the moment, while I'm not seeing it happen right now, we do see that lower take profit, major bullish order block. And I love seeing this on Luxago Oscillator. While the money flow is still negative, the oscillator is still negative, you guys see this red cloud, the money flows continuing to the downside. It's overextended, and this bright pink area came into play. This is excessive sellers. This means a lot of people are pushing on the price to go to the downside, but when they leave, just like something we saw back here earlier on in August, usually you see a big breakout to the upside. If you were to take a look at price action, take a look at the last time we had all of these excessive sellers leave. Boom, you see a major price increase. In fact, we ended up seeing the price of TIA go up over the next couple of weeks, roughly 26%. So while we're not necessarily ready to break just yet, this is a good sign that we're bearish at the moment, but it's an overextended bearish move. When they're done and they run out of steam, that could bring a bigger move to the upside for TIA. So take a look at TIA. Again, longer time frame. Keep an eye. I'm bullish on crypto as a whole, but it's not altcoin season. Let's see what happens, what price looks like, or what TIA does when we turn bullish again, breaking back up above $6.34. Might be a little while. Don't expect that next week. That could be a little bit of a play out for TIA before we have that breakout. The other one I said we're going to take a look at, and then we're going to jump into some stories and reasons to remain optimistic about the markets, but also at the same time, be curious about what things are going to look like in the future as far as Blackrock is concerned. Let's take a look at Optimism, OP. Right now, and I have to go back and review the numbers because it could be that Matic kind of came back, but Arbitrum was the number one layer 2 on Ethereum. If we're talking about strict layer 2s, I'm not going to count base because it's not even really a cryptocurrency. It's just something you can build and scale on Ethereum. But if you're talking about cryptocurrency layer 2s, the most used, number 1 Arbitrum, number 2 Optimism, and then number 3 was Matic. Now I could be wrong. Something could have flipped in that order over the last week or two. But Optimism, just like Arbitrum and Matic, been in a very consistent bear trend. I mean, Bitcoin we've seen make some higher highs. Solana we've seen make some higher highs. We've not seen a higher high in price action on Optimism since all the way back in March. This is a very consistent, yet this is a very good-looking chart if you want to look for a good buy signal on Optimism. And I'll explain why. Let's turn off Lux Algo, even though I'm going to bring that back up here in a second. These orange lines are constricting, but they're showing us that we're setting these lower highs and lower lows, but getting closer to a pushing point. And this ultimately is something that will break bullishly to the upside. The question is when do we make that move to the upside? And again, I think that we're closer to bull moves than we think. So be optimistic. But at the end of the day, the good part here is that you have, since March, an opportunity. Even right now, we're down 75% from highs on Optimism. Some people look at these types of moves and say, oh, this is a problem coin. It's not going to make it. Guess what, guys? It's still one of the more significant layer 2s on Ethereum. It's going to have at least some sort of positive momentum during the bull market. And being down 74% from your all-time high just screams the word opportunity. But where are the opportunities coming in at? Let's take a look here. Take profit levels were hit during this August dip on the daily chart. Could we revisit that $1.17? I think that's absolutely a possibility. We're not going to get bullish, though, until we break this orange line, which coincidentally corresponds pretty perfectly with our orange level of resistance. So I'm going to give us kind of the area of 165, 180. That range needs to be reconquered on Optimism before you're going to feel confident that the bullish momentum is back in play. In reality, you can make the argument we really need to see $2 to set a higher high for the first time in several months on Optimism. But in the shorter time frames, what levels are we kind of watching right now? Could we see Optimism go with? Now, if the whole market's moving to the downside, the probability that Optimism is going to follow is pretty stinking high. So I'm going to be looking for things to the downside. Now, we're hitting some profit right now. We're hitting an order block. So the 4-hour chart kind of showing us that potentially we could see a reversal coming soon. That oscillator dipping nice and low once again. That's a positive sign. Let's see what our 1 hour is saying here. 100% overbought. We got our green reversal coming in. I think we're closer than, I think we're close to a bottom here. We're hitting the bottom of our take profit. The 4-hour, yeah, we could go lower, but a lot of support here. Maybe 118 is in play here. But that's about as far as I see it. I think we're about to get some bullish flashes on the 1 hour, 4 hour. Might be some trading, some long opportunities coming here shortly on Optimism. What I'll tell you, you're looking for strength on that 1 hour oscillator, and you're probably also going to be wanting to look for strength on Bitcoin as well. Again, I don't see Optimism debunking or going in the opposite direction as Bitcoin. If you like what you see on the Bitcoin chart and you see some strength on the 1 hour Optimism chart, to me, that's the recipe for a long position. We're not talking about anything crazy. You might be conservative and say, I'm only going to take it back up to 130, maybe a little more aggressive, say 135. Either way, those are both potentially great long opportunities. Let's pretend this was the bottom. We're talking about you throw some leverage on that if you're using CoinW or Blofin. Put a 5x on there. You can make some good money with a trade. You don't always have to go crazy with it, but look out for that opportunity coming very, very soon. That's going to wrap up the plan, TA. But let's move into some stories here, T-Shroom. It's about 3:21. That means my goal was good. I told T-Shroom before the show, my new goal is we're going to do about 20 minutes of technical analysis in the beginning of the show, get into the stories, and then we'll come back and do Q&A later. So I hit my mark borderline perfectly. I'm going to chalk up the extra minute, T-Shroom, to me playing a YouTube video and you playing a YouTube video. That we're going to fix that. That's going to be fixed in the future. Let's just dive into some stories here. I'm going to save Blackrock talk for a couple of minutes. Let's not start off on that one. Let's get into that one here a little bit later. There's some other positive stories that despite price being down right now, let's check in on that, for example. 57.2 for Bitcoin. Okay, 57.2. Despite the fact that price is down close to, we're pushing $2,000 dip today in the last couple of hours. Does this mean, is this move indicative of a much larger bearish move, or are we continuing to see overwhelming bullish news articles pumping out?
Let's dive in. Let's see what the news is. First of all, we're going to turn to the economic data that printed this morning, August 15th at 8:30 a.m. We got the retail sales. That was a beat, so more sales are happening. Actual print 1%, forecast 0.2 and 0.3, previous negative 0.2. So that is a win for the retail sales. We'll go ahead and skip down to the initial jobless claims, 2,207. And
227,000. Yeah.
227. Yes. And the consensus, that beat forecast of 239,000. So that is going to be coming in under the forecast. So that's a bit of a miss. And it also came under the consensus there. So this is an example, though, where bad news is good news. That's what the Fed needs to see in order to cut rates in September. So not a huge surprise there. That's kind of what the market was expecting, and it's what the market got. And because it's not by a huge margin, we're seeing the stock market rally on that news of increased certainty around the rate cut in September. So we'll go ahead and plow forward. There'll be plenty of episodes where we'll break down more about the Fed. Today we're going to have a breakdown more around Blackrock and its astronomical accumulation of crypto. But that is going to be, the jobs data there, the economic breakdown. So I've actually got a clip here. This isn't something anybody had on their bingo card, but this is Democrat Senate Leader Chuck Schumer kind of talking about crypto in a very positive way. I don't think I've ever seen him talk in this way, but it's an election year and anything's possible. Let's take a look. Indeed, let's take a listen.
Now, being here with you today is very important, and that's why I made time on my schedule here. Crypto's been around, of course, for over a decade. It's grown more influential than anyone could have anticipated years ago. Each and every day, as Mark said, it's not an elite thing. An estimated 20% of Americans use these assets, and this will only grow in size and scale. I believe that...
So I want to pause there and come back. That's an important point that he's making because Democrats, oftentimes a message resonates with Democrats and Democratic voters that if something's for the elites, then it must be bad, right? So it's important that he, a leader of the Democratic Party, is saying, actually, crypto is not just for elites, it's for everyone. So that's something I agree with. I agree with a lot of what he says here. The important part is the positioning, and we'll break that down in a second, but let's continue.
Congress has a responsibility to provide common sense and sound regulation on crypto, and we need your support to make sure that any proposal is bipartisan. That's the only way we get things done. Ultimately, my goal when it comes to crypto regulation is this: I want to bring members on both sides of the aisle here in the Senate together, create momentum so we can pass sensible legislation that helps the United States maintain its status as the most innovative country in the world. My goal is to get something passed out of the Senate and into law by the end of the year, and I believe we can make that happen. I think we should strike a balance for crypto between promoting innovation and providing common sense guardrails. So it's great to be.
So that's the clip. There's a lot to break down there, Tim. Overall, seems kind of bullish. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah. So I want to make sure people understand this, because some people are going to watch these clips and they're going to judge what's said based off of the person saying them. Imagine you read this and all it said was by a politician. This was said by a politician. I don't know. Is Schumer a congressman or a senator? I don't even know.
Senate. Yeah.
The senator. Okay. So let's just say this sentence was said by a U.S. senator. You have no idea left or right. I think the majority of us would listen to this and say this is a great deal. The problem is, I think there's only a lot of people who look at this and they are going to prejudge Schumer on some other policies that maybe he's for or against. They're going to prejudge him on other things, and they're going to try to find something to pick apart about what he said. And I think that's one of the problems. I think it's one of those things when you listen to just what he said and not try to take in so much other information into what's happening. Everyone should be in agreement with this. Everything he's saying, I 100% agree with. We've got to keep crypto bipartisan. If it becomes a partisan issue, we're going to have a level of failure there as well. We got to keep it bipartisan. We need him and I might disagree with what common sense implies when it comes to regulation, but the fact that we need common sense regulation by the end of this year is something I agree with. And then even more so when he says, as we continue to prioritize America as being the most innovative country in the world, I love that he's saying this. I see William English saying he's lying. Here's what I'll say. If he's lying, I'm glad that he's saying it, because guess what that means? Any Democrat or person that maybe disagrees with me on other policies is going to listen to someone like him and say, you know what? Yes, let's come to the table and let's get something going so that America can move forward with innovative and bullish policy when it comes to cryptocurrency. We might disagree about everything else on the book, but I want to come to that table and have that conversation. If I'm sitting in Congress or in Senate right now, I'm in 100% support of what he's saying. I really do. I want to caution people to not. This is one of the problems where we have gridlock, is where we refuse to work on things that we actually agree on because of things that have nothing to do with that conversation that we happen to disagree on. If they try to squeak something in here that's just a backdoor deal to do something else, all right, yeah, expose it, be at the table, see that. But if it's time to put aside policy, like you might disagree with how we should handle foreign policy. You might disagree with how we should handle social policy. You might disagree with 100 other things. But if the meeting is about how the government should treat crypto, I hope that Republican senators watched that and said, you know what? I'm coming to the table. I agree with you 100%. Let's work on this together for the American people and for this country. Let's put our differences aside and focus on something we're united on, and that is we both want to see cryptocurrency succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we want crypto to be bipartisan. We want it to be something that Republicans and Democrats can find their identity in, and that they could potentially invest in, right? We don't want half of the population of the United States looking at cryptocurrency and saying that's only for the elites, right? So it's very important that the Senate leader there, Chuck Schumer, kind of made that statement, because as tensions grow in this election year, a lot of Democrats may have adopted that opinion in one way or another from Elizabeth Warren, right, who's kind of been a champion of anti-crypto rhetoric and policies and threats. And so they're trying to get their messaging right. They saw the power, the energy in the room in Nashville when Trump and RFK gave their speech that was very pro-Bitcoin, and they couldn't ignore it, right? So they have to continue to work towards some good common sense policy. Now, what common sense policy means to them, to the Democrats, is yet to be seen. But at least now it's getting lip service. Okay, we're going to take it a layer deeper here, Tim, because what you may not have noticed watching this video, and this is some tinfoil hat stuff, guys, but in the bottom corner here, there's a graphic that they got somewhere. Chuck Schumer's team got this graphic somewhere. I have done some intense investigative analysis, and I was able to get a copy of this graphic here. And as you can see, the different coins that are represented. You got Bitcoin, not a surprise. Litecoin, Cardano, interesting. Right, it's right behind the timestamp mark there. You got AVAX, Polkadot, Tron, Near, Monero twice, I think, if I'm not wrong. You see the
well, the other one. So I think the one that's like white with like the blue M, that's the Monero one. Maybe that one between Ethereum and Near is something different, but it's hard because it's a little blurry.
Yeah, right. And then up top, you've got Binance, Stellar Lumens. You guys can see for yourself the rest there. But is that potentially what's in Chuck Schumer's portfolio? Definitely not. Definitely not. But maybe.
You never know. You never know. Breaking right now. No, crazy breaking news, but just want to make sure we're aware of what's happening. Bitcoin kissed that 56.8 that we discussed earlier on the show. See my yellow line right there? It has kissed it. If I were to go to a very small time frame, say the 5-minute chart, again, you can see that take profit level hit kind of just perfectly. Are we seeing a reversal necessarily? The 5-minute chart isn't necessarily printing a buy order, but it's looking very, very close. We see oversold 5-minute charts, 10-minute charts, 15-minute charts. Let's just pay attention to the RSI down here. As long as you see a big red cloud, that is saying we are oversold. Everything up to the 1 hour, and the 1 hour is getting very close to flashing that way. So we'll keep an eye on that as the rest of the show, but I wanted to just update people. We realized we lost 57,000, but even earlier in the show, we said that more than likely 56.8 was in the cards. Let's see if that ends up holding. T-Shroom, let's get back into it, though.
Yeah.
I feel like there was something else I want to say earlier. What was the first story you covered? Oh, it was about the job reports.
Yep.
So I want to make sure we touch on that for a brief second, and we'll get back into here. In case you guys did not know, we got great inflation numbers here earlier this week. Mm-hmm. We were, for the first time since March of 2021, back below 3% on inflation year over year. Then today we got the second side of the bullish prediction of saying that the economy is potentially ready to stay healthy on the data points and get a rate cut, and that is that unemployment came in and beat its expectations, coming down to 227,000 jobless claims when we were expecting 235,000. So we didn't just barely beat it, we beat it by a lot. What does this mean? Well, Jerome Powell and the Fed have what they call a dual mandate. Their job is to watch at all times, where is inflation? We want to keep inflation under control, and we want to keep unemployment under control. And ultimately, if both of those are very low, we don't have to have high interest rates. If inflation's very high, we need to go in and start making it harder, probably let the balance come into force, let inflation come lower, and let the jobless claims go up. But when this happens too aggressively, you end up going into a hard recession where unemployment skyrockets, the economy crumbles. It's a disaster. The Fed is trying to get rid of that. They're trying to keep that from happening. Well, with seeing successful inflation data, whether you think it's manipulated, controlled, or not, the data points are coming in telling Jerome Powell inflation is still falling, yet unemployment is still under control. That should, in theory, give him the confidence that in September, he should be able to start a soft landing cut operation. And right now, we're pricing in here, if you go to my screen, T-Shroom, 75% probability that we're going to see 25 basis points cut. T-Shroom, I think you discussed this on the Blockchain Basement earlier. At least I heard that you did. But it's the concept of we should be very excited that we're going for 25 basis points instead of 50, because 50 would communicate desperation from the Fed that they're afraid of something. But these data points, having both low inflation, for the lowest inflation we've had in years, and unemployment that's still under control, that is a market that, at least on the data side, communicates a soft landing. It communicates it's time to start cutting rates. And under those circumstances, very similar to 2016 and 2020, what did the markets do? They shot back up to the upside. This is a reason to be excited. Let's wait, though. Again, all this information is happening, and Bitcoin's below 57,000. Guess what? That is a manipulative move that's very clear. The stock market is up, but Bitcoin and crypto's down. You can only explain that as a manipulative move. But next week, when we do hear from Jerome Powell and the Fed over in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, that's when we will hear a lot more about why crypto could skyrocket. And I want to make sure you guys understand that. That's the other thing. With the stock market continuing to climb, but crypto being suppressed, I don't think anyone should be reading this as the bull market for crypto is over. Think of it more like if you had two kids running in a race, one kid got to go ahead and go while the faster kid, someone's holding onto his shirt and he's just stuck still. When he's released, he's going to shoot out of there like a cannon and he's going to explode up and to the right. That's what's happening right now with crypto. Could we go lower? Could we go to 54,000? Absolutely. We discussed that earlier on the charts. To be fair, we could, in theory, go even lower. I'm not expecting it, but we could go lower. But that doesn't cancel out the bull market. All you have to do is look at what the stock market is doing, seeing the confidence is happening over there to understand this isn't a reason to be bearish about cryptocurrency. It's a reason to understand what we're about to transition into. There is heavy manipulation, and manipulation can be both negative and extremely positive. The problem, though, is when it goes positive, did they convince you to sell your positions and get out so that you don't reap any of the rewards of the bullish momentum? That's what we're trying to warn you about today. And it's time, T-Stream, to transition into a story about a company that's been in the markets a lot here. Everyone has been discussing them. No matter what channel you listen to, you've probably heard their name, Blackrock. They're doing some more stuff. What's happening with Blackrock here today, T-Shroom?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the main takeaway here is comprised is kind of the story's told well in a couple of different tweets. The first one here from Bitcoin Magazine. This one today from 9 a.m. Major financial firms buying BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF as per recent filings. Wall Street is already here. So this is generally bullish, right? This is just Bitcoin Magazine reporting that when corporations are looking to get exposure to Bitcoin price action, they're doing it through IBIT, through the BlackRock Bitcoin spot ETF. Okay, and then also Nate Garesi is pointing out here that how aggressively Bitcoin is being purchased through these ETFs. iShares Bitcoin ETF has taken its in approximately $20.5 billion this year alone. Obviously, it would have had to have been in 2024 because that's when the ETFs went live. iShares, don't get it twisted, is BlackRock. Out of all 375 new ETFs launching in 2024, the next closest non-spot Bitcoin ETF is $1.3 billion. So just compare that. That's 20x what the next biggest one is. And the cut to the chase, the next biggest one is the Russell ETF. So this is just like small cap corporations that did not quite make the grade for the S&P and the Nasdaq. Not the Nasdaq, the S&P and S&P 500. So the numbers are comical at this point, says Nate. Spot Bitcoin ETFs, IBIT, FBTC, ARKB, BitB. The top four launches are the top four launches of 2024. So Wall Street has never seen something like this, and it's extremely, extremely aggressive. But is it potentially too aggressive? When we look at the actual flows, it starts to become clear that BlackRock is starting to pull away from the rest of the group. You'll see the next biggest ETF issuer of Bitcoin is Grayscale, and they're almost now half of what BlackRock has AUM. 345,744 to Grayscale's just 200,300. It is starting to accelerate. BlackRock is pulling away. Tim, this begs the question: is Bitcoin potentially becoming too overbought by BlackRock? Does BlackRock their custody of Bitcoin, is it becoming too intense? Could there potentially be negative consequences to this?
Yeah, ultimately, I want to make sure people understand what I'm about to explain is bullish for the price of Bitcoin. However, there's several people falling for the trap. What you have to understand about BlackRock is a massive investing agency that has their hands in almost every pot that you can think of financially around the world. I mean, even things that we've heard about in the last couple of months is that they're taking advantage of the situation happening right now over in Ukraine, buying up land with pennies on the dollar because that's how cheap it is. If you don't think that's a part of a grander scheme, and this is potentially something they're behind to continue to buy real estate worldwide so they control prices, they control every detail of how you live, then you're kidding yourself. Their investment hand in your food, in your housing, in your electricity, in almost anything you can think of, if you own it in your house, odds are BlackRock profited off of you purchasing that or getting that. What's my point here? Now they are sitting here acquiring Bitcoin in bulk. And while technically speaking, some people are going to be on here and say, Tim, they're just buying what their clients are telling them to buy. Guess what? When I purchase an ETF, when I purchase that Blackrock ETF, I own 0 of that Bitcoin that I just purchased the ETF for. I essentially just said, hey, I want you to hold this much Bitcoin, and eventually when I'm done with this, I want you to pay me a certain amount of money. But do you know who custodies, or rather who that Bitcoin officially belongs to? It belongs to them. They're simply, with the ETF system, they're saying, hey, do you want to get access to Bitcoin? Give us your hard-earned money. We'll go buy the Bitcoin for you. You can cash out whenever you want, but ultimately we're having you buy us our Bitcoin. They're holding it privately. They're holding it publicly. They're holding it all over the place. And we've seen, even with more recent crash down to 49,000, a huge report came out. Blackrock sold nada. They strongholded that entire big move while several of you probably capitulated. What is my overall point? BlackRock is buying and holding like crazy. But as I told you, they control everything. Guess what else they control? They control the media. And they're going to work their butts off to convince you to go ahead and capitulate. I see a lot of people here in chat. Some people long-term supporters. Some of you still optimistic. But I see a lot of people right now, even in our chat, saying that we're going a lot lower, that this is all a part of a planned move. We're going a lot lower. I'm not talking about the people saying 54,000. There's people that think we're going back down into the 30s, maybe 20s, maybe new bear market lows. Well, this is exactly what BlackRock wants you to believe, because this is the type of thing that you listen to what they do, not what they say. And maybe they pay for articles to be put out there to spread some fear, uncertainty, and doubt and scare you into selling your Bitcoin. All the while, they're doing nothing but buying more and more of it. And inevitably, they're going to own a large amount to where now manipulation on both good and bad fronts comes into the cloud. They're manipulating everything right now to gobble as much Bitcoin as possible and shoot prices upside so they can profit. But the volatility that could stay in because of their ability to sell and buy and sell and buy at the opportune times, all the while shaking you out of your long-term holding, it's something that should scare you and convince you that you need to look deeper than just the surface layer of articles. You need to be hodling. I'm not telling you that your Bitcoin holding today is going to be in a higher profit tomorrow, but you should hodl, because a year from now, it'll be much higher. 20 years from now, it'll be a whole lot higher. 50 years from now, when you're passing it on to your children, it will be extremely, just buco's numbers of higher. And it's something that BlackRock doesn't want you to believe. They're going to shake you out as much as you can. They're going to convince you a better opportunity is coming down the road. And right now, we are watching that all work to their advantage. They own a large amount of Bitcoin. And the truth is, that's only looking at the accounts we know of that belong to them. This is the type of company that probably has wallets spread out all over the planet that we have no idea even belong to them. And they're quietly but surely stacking their sats because they want to maintain that power, that control, and that wealth. Do not fall for the lies. Do not fall for the trap that they're setting for you. We are still very, very bullish, and BlackRock is benefiting from it.
Absolutely. You know, the future is Bitcoin, and BlackRock was never going to miss out, right? And neither was the other half of Wall Street that's going along with them. Fidelity, 21 shares, Bitwise, and you may even lump Grayscale in there. Certainly VanEck, certainly Invesco, Valkyrie, Franklin Templeton, Wisdom Tree, right? These are all Wall Street strongholds. Like, they're not going anywhere. The only names that are missing from this list really are Vanguard, right? And one day Vanguard will probably issue a spot ETF for Bitcoin of its own if they want to remain competitive. So overall here, am I selling Bitcoin because I think that BlackRock's going to take it over in some way? No, that's not possible. That's not how Bitcoin was built. BlackRock knows that. That's why they're investing in it, right? You have to kind of do some 4D chess thoughts here. Is they wouldn't be investing in this if they thought that they could take over Bitcoin and do a 51% attack, because just by the nature of that belief, they wouldn't invest in it, right? Because someone else could do it to them, a foreign government or the U.S. government that could infinitely print fiat and buy Bitcoin with that fiat. So it doesn't follow any kind of logic that BlackRock is trying to take over and destroy Bitcoin. Also, their clients and their customers would never forgive them. The brand of BlackRock would be tainted into oblivion. They would never do that, right? So what does that lead us to believe? the most logical conclusion and the simplest conclusion is BlackRock really likes the coin. They really believe in the Bitcoin project, but that doesn't mean that they don't have some other motivations as well. They're not buying it because they want to see a brighter future for the world. That may be the motivations of some of the folks at BlackRock, but they're buying it because they want to buy the railroads, right? They want to buy the gold. They want to buy what they know to be the future, and in doing so, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because they're writing a lot of what the future is going to be in the world of finance and also in the world of just existing in Europe, as Tim alluded to, and also in the world of AI, right? They have tons of allocation deployed into the world of AI. So it's probably not news to you that BlackRock is extremely powerful and they're only getting more powerful, but it may be news to you that they are actually quite well invested in Bitcoin and helping other rich folks and institutions do just the same. So we're keeping our eye out, and we'll be making sure to bring every update in this world to you when it comes to BlackRock and Bitcoin.
Yeah, someone said here 70K was the level to buy, and here's the point. Yeah, if you had sold at 70K, you could have scooped up a lot lower. I'll tell you who didn't sell at 70K. BlackRock didn't sell at 70K. I know Eric and Wallace said they aren't buying at all. They're collecting fees from us. They are buying and collecting fees from us. They're collecting those fees, and they're using it to buy their own Bitcoin for certain. There are some Arkham wallets we know connected to them, and that's the ones when we talked about that report here at 49K when it said BlackRock sold nothing. It was the wallets that we knew belonged personally to BlackRock that came out telling us that information. If they're not selling, there's probably not many people in the world who know the future of Bitcoin 100%. BlackRock might be some of the people who not only know it, but they also have the ability to affect it. And if they didn't sell, and that's something we can prove, and we did, that's a massive sign as to why we still believe the bullish market is coming in here. Let's see here. Someone else said, who is selling right now? We talked about this earlier on the show. First of all, we got 700 people in here right now. That is a lot of people. Make sure if you're enjoying the show, you smash the like. Even if you are on the fence about the show, you still smash like. It's a nice thing. YouTube seems to like it for some reason. We talked about the liquidation levels. Let's go back to them here, T-Shirt. I got to get back because we were looking at Solana last. But we were talking about this earlier on the show, and I want to bring it back to people's attention. It's not necessarily one large entity in and of themselves selling. You actually can make the case it's a lot more of shorter-term traders who understand how to manipulate people. But you can see we have some heavy liquidity. We took some heavy liquidity out here at 57, give or take, when we came down here to 58.6. If I were to go out here, the 12-hour actually showing a lot of longs kind of gone now. I could have sworn, T-Shroom, didn't we see? Well, no, I guess that's about right. All that yellow was sitting right there. Let's go to the 7-day. Never mind. Nothing's changed here. 7-day, if we continue to make a bigger push to the downside, you see some interesting. Now, this isn't bright yellow like it was earlier, T-Shroom. So this is something developing. We saw bright yellow liquidity at the $54,000 mark. That is gone, meaning some bulls or bears that are putting these liquidation levels in here are giving up their momentum. That's actually a positive sign short term. But overwhelmingly, I want to come back over to the chart. You do still see a lot of support in the current area that we are in. Like if we were to go, let's say here to the 4-hour chart, for example, we have our smart trail. We have our descending level of support in play here. But I didn't do the TA on this earlier, T-Shroom. Another reason the 54 is potentially intriguing is when you take into account golden pocket moves. Golden pocket moves using Fibonacci are very common. For example, take a look at this move here from our touch up at 70,000 down to that $49,000 low. Look at where we closed almost all of our candles here more recently in this rejection, golden pocket level. Well, guess where the golden pocket level on a shorter time frame is going to look like, coming from that $49,000 low to this almost $63,000 high. That puts us right there at $54,000. So I'm not guaranteeing you that 54 is in the cards. And in fact, when I take a look at our liquidity levels, this is actually showing a little bit more of a positive sign that we're removing some of the liquidations lower. It's still something, though, to keep your eyes on for a possibility. I would absolutely say if you see 54K and you have some dry powder and you've been looking for a good level to deploy it into Bitcoin, Can't promise you it's the bottom, but I can guarantee you it's a lot better than where we currently are sitting. And that is saying we're sitting on a nice little support level at the moment here as well. I'm heavily considering, I'm going to hold off till the end of the show because I told you guys I want to see strength on the 1 hour. But seeing how we're responding to this, it does make me think that potentially I might look for another long on Bitcoin here around this level. But what I'm going to watch, let's see this, the 1 hour, maybe even the 30-minute, give me some signs of confidence. I'm seeing oversold. I'm seeing we're looking really low on our oscillators. We're hitting support, and it could be time to shoot back up. But I want to see just a little bit of strength before I make that move. And that, in theory, could send the price at least back up here toward resistance around $61,000. That's what I'll be looking for, but I want to see some strength in the markets first before I make that move. It is 3:51 here, T-Shroom. It is time to jump into some Q&A, but first, while people are dropping their questions in chat, I see some people want us to do Jazz Me TA. That's a good one. We're going to do our factoid of the day. I'm 0-2, T-Shroom, and we know the rule is I got to get 3 of these right every week so that people can get a $50 giveaway on Saturday. So we only have 3 days left during the week of the show. I got to bat 1,000 from here on out. Hopefully the elf takes it easy on me today. Get me in the win column for this week. What do you got for me?
All right, Tim. Well, today's factoid of the day is brought to you all by Decrypted.tax. If you're looking for some professional tax solutions and you've been invested in crypto and you've sold crypto, then you're going to need the pros over at Decrypted.tax. Check out the link in the description for to get set up with them. Tim, with $101 million in assets, the vegan ETF, ticker VEGN, has which company as the top holding? Is it A, NVIDIA, B, Walmart,
Gotta be kidding
C, Oracle, or D, Tesla? Come on, Tim. What is the answer?
All right, let's start off by saying I need to get better at this because my best health happens when I eat this way. It's the exact opposite of vegan. I am, sometimes I joke that I'm a meatitarian, but I think we call that carnivore. Now,
Right.
I will from time to time eat carbs, and that's why I need to get better about that. My body always feels better when I'm in that carnivore state, working on it. All right, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to give it a second. I need your help on this one. I see 2 people saying Tesla. I see 1 person saying it's Walmart. I need your help on this one. I cannot afford to get this wrong, but I'm being very honest with you. There's not many people on this planet that know less about vegans and who owns their stocks than this guy right here. This is split. There's a lot of Tesla. There's a lot of Walmart. Both make sense. Tesla on the side of, I could see a lot of Tesla owners potentially, you bought your Tesla because you're very conscious of the environment. You want to save the planet. You also then go vegan, in which case we can make arguments here that vegans are destroying the planet as well, but that's a different conversation. That makes sense. Walmart, of course, selling food. They're going to sell vegan food right next to the steak. So that makes a lot of sense as well. I'm seeing a lot more Tesla than I'm seeing Walmart. So T-Shroom, I'm going with the people. If they're wrong, then the $50 giveaway that's not going to happen is on them. They're saying Tesla. I'm going Tesla.
All right, here we go. Is it Tesla? It is NVIDIA, Tim. Wow. So here on
What? That was probably my 4th choice.
All right, here on Yahoo Finance, we can see the U.S. Vegan Climate ETF, VEGN. The top holding is indeed coming in at 5.27% of their assets, NVIDIA Corporation. Next up, Apple, Broadcom, Tesla, United Health Group, Visa, MasterCard, Adobe, Oracle, and Salesforce. Tim, Walmart was put on there by
NVIDIA. Is that proof that NVIDIA is trying to build AI that will take over the world and kill us all because they're investing very heavily in vegan food?
I mean, potentially, but it's only $100 million in assets under management. It's not a lot. But I can't believe you ever even considered Walmart, considering they're one of the biggest distributors of beef in the world.
Yeah, but they also sell vegan food. They have probably whole lines of food that are built for vegans to buy it. Walmart cares about dollars. They don't care about what you're going to put in your stomach. Come all to Walmart and buy our stuff.
All right. We got a super chat here from Ordinal Revolution. We had him on our X Spaces that we have every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ordinal's Revolution provided a lot of alpha when we had him on the Spaces. We got to have him back on soon. They said this, donating $20 US. Ordinal's Revolution. What comes first for Bitcoin? 49K or 71K? Ooh, that's a tough one, Tim. What do you think?
Here's what I'll say. I'm reading, and there's only so many people that have commented so far, but I'm seeing multiple 49s. One person clarified, said 52K first. Interesting. But a lot of bearishness, 44, 49. I'll tell you this, guys. I've said this before, too. I don't get everything right. In fact, I get a lot of things wrong. The times I get the most of my calls right is when I'm a contrarian to everybody else. Mm-hmm. When everybody else is convinced something's happening, I go the opposite direction. Those are the times that I'm batting closer to 1,000 on my my predictions of what's going to happen next based off the charts. I'm leaning towards 71K first. That doesn't mean we're about to skyrocket tomorrow. The reason I'm going 71 happens over 49 is because I don't know, and I don't think the 49K is back on the table. I just laid out for you that we're getting bullish news after bullish news after bullish news, but the price is going down. That's a sign of manipulation. Manipulation, though, also a lot of times happens right before big moves in the opposite direction. The reason they manipulate it is because they know that what just happened was bullish, but they want to buy an extremely good dip. That's why I like these levels like 56.8 or 54,000. I agree 52. Like if the question was 52K or 71, I might be very tempted to say maybe 52. I'm not convinced of it, but I think that's a possibility. I don't know if 49 is going to get hit again. I think that there's a lot of arguments I could make, and I've made them on this channel before, that 49 was a drastic fall. It did fit the bill on getting us back to a level that we hadn't been on in a long time, turning former resistance into support. But it was based off of a lot of misinformation about markets that's been clarified. Everything is saying that price should go up. The price is going down, which makes me think we might be in a slingshot right now, a bear trap of kinds. I think 71K happens first, but I'm still not predicting 71K probably until September now. I'm not going to argue with people that say that September is historically a bearish month. Maybe September is a sideways month. Maybe we don't see anything crazy or anything cool until October. But September, October area, I think 71K is happening before the election season.
Yeah.
What about you, Teacher? What would you say to that?
I've just drawn. This is going to be bad. Don't actually take this seriously. But I've just drawn a squiggly line here that kind of roughly.
That's good looking.
That roughly encapsulates the summary of movement. If I use big words, that's going to make my squiggles more true, right? Encapsulates the summary of movement here for Bitcoin over the last couple of months since February, since it's been sideways. We really should have had a little bit more time spent up here testing these levels to try to push higher, but we capitulated quickly. I believe that had to do with these recent tensions in early August, the recent tensions in the Middle East. So by all estimations, we should remain lower. By all estimations, by my squiggly lines estimations, remain lower. But stay within this golden pocket here that I have drawn. My golden pocket's a little different from yours, though, Tim. I've got mine's a trend base.
Yours is a large, different time frame.
Yeah, it's
you're looking at a macro golden pocket. I was looking at a very micro.
Yeah. So we've kind of bucked this squiggly trend. The conclusion should be we've bucked this general squiggly trend that has been in this this descending megaphone pattern. And so that could mean that we're breaking the sideways movement and we want to go ahead and do something different, which would be, instead of coming back and testing lower here, we're going to break this and either just go sideways in a tight range or go try to test higher. Ultimately, nobody knows, right, what's going to happen. But what we said yesterday, and what I'm coming to really, really like the thought of, is that until the election reaches a conclusion here in these United States of America, we just don't know what's going to happen. And there's just so much uncertainty around the way that it really has to do with corporate interests and things like that. We'll break this down more in the Discord probably a little bit later, but it really has to do with the election needs to happen in order for Bitcoin to break out of this descending megaphone pattern, in my opinion. In order for us to get north of 70,000 again, the election needs to reach a conclusion. I think more and more that it doesn't really matter who gets elected for Bitcoin specifically. Obviously, Trump, I think, would be more bullish for risk markets in general. But until this election's over, I think the market makes sense that it doesn't want to capitulate much south of 60,000, but it also doesn't want to buy. It doesn't want to bid higher much north of 65,000. So it's just going to remain in this range until the market gets certainty of who's going to be the leader of the free world.
I'll tell you this, T-Shroom. This is the prediction of how I think this is going to work. I'm going to tell you guys, no matter who wins presidency, I think Bitcoin goes up. I don't think we're going to enter in a bear market because one person won over the other. However, I think, T-Shroom, you made a good point that right now there is concern that Kamala Harris is going to win. She's leading in all the big polls, even the poly market, which is not random polling. It's people betting on who they think is going to win presidency. That can change very easily, but that's what's happening right now. And clearly, the price going down is a sign that people are not very happy about what she could do with crypto if she was president. Here's what's to happen. We'll either stay sideways or down until the election. She wins, and then price will go to the upside. Why? Because that's just how these things will work. If Donald Trump begins to maybe take back control in the polls, maybe it starts to sway back his way, maybe we even get to a place where he's starting to lead again. Watch the price rally and go up into the election season, and then he wins presidency. Immediately, Bitcoin actually falls. A little bit of a buy the rumor, sell the news event. Doesn't mean it crashes. Doesn't mean we go to bear market lows. It just means we have a nice run up into the election, then we correct, and then let the dust settle. Let the election season, give it a couple days. Let's give it a week after November 5th. November 12th, no matter who's president, I think Bitcoin resumes or reverses into a bull rally. That's because Bitcoin, while we have the little levels that care about politics, overwhelmingly, Bitcoin is bigger than American politics. It will continue its bullish momentum. I almost say whoever's president has a bigger impact on the longevity of how long the bull market lasts, not on the fact of denying or approving a bull market in general. Someone asked earlier, this is the last question, we're going to get out of here. Someone asked earlier, Tim, when alt season? I've said this several times, but I'm going to remind you guys. I still believe that we're not going to see an alt season until December of 2024, maybe even January. There's an outside chance it happens early in November. But my prediction is that we're still in Bitcoin season. Bitcoin dominance, currently sitting around 57%, is going to go over 57%. We're going to see, just like historically we've seen this, a massive run in Bitcoin with alts traveling just a little behind. But then there'll become a point where Bitcoin, I imagine, gets over 100K, and people end up taking some profit from Bitcoin and moving it into the altcoin, starting a great run there. Bitcoin might see a little retracement, and I say little, it's going to be like 20%. It might go from like 100K down to 80K while alts are exploding, but then it'll take off as well for another leg. Bitcoin will get up closer to, if not above, 200,000. Altcoins will do their thing like they always have. Be patient. Do not judge altcoins right now off of their bearishness or boringness, because it's not altcoin season. That comes later. If you guys enjoyed the show, make sure to smash the like button, hit subscribe. VIP traders, tonight we're going to be going live at 7 p.m. in Zoom because we're going to have to reshoot. Last week it didn't go out right. We're going to be talking about oscillator divergences, what to look for, how to read them, how to trade them. You don't want to miss it if you're one of our VIP traders. The rest of you, we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Adios.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor, the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shroom's news got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.
Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros.